Nobody's flying. You see how empty that is?
Yeah, it's like gearing yourself up for military battles.
That's why Southwest is making this announcement here.
That's right.
Yes, they've been a shining example of how to run a successful airline as others have struggled.
But now it too is feeling the pinch, scratching 6% of flights this winter in an effort to save money. So is this the strongest sign yet that the airline industry is going to need a government bailout? Let's ask our Bulls and Bears panel. First to you, Peter Schiff.
Well, they don't need a government bailout. I mean, the industry is going to contract. We know that. I've been talking about that for a couple of years on these shows. American airline industry is going to have to reinvent itself in light of the fact that the average American is now too broke to afford to fly. And so we're a poorer country than we used to be. Americans are mired in debt. They have no more home equity, so they can't fly. And so the airlines are going to have to get smaller. They're going to have fewer routes, and they're going to have to jack ticket prices way up so they can actually make a profit. And then those Americans that are still rich enough to pay the freight will be able to fly. But we don't need the government to do this. But unfortunately, it's probably going to be accomplished through a lot of bankruptcy reorganizations for a lot of the airlines.
Pat
and I would
Dorsey,
avoid their
what
stocks.
saves the airlines? Is it government intervention?
It's a smaller airline industry. Anytime you have overcapacity in a commodity industry, prices are too low to sustain profits. The solution is simple. You simply take out capacity. Unfortunately, because airlines are, kind of like the automakers, very politically sensitive because they employ a lot of people and people sort of view them as a public service almost. They do have a lot of political clout, and so there is, I think, a risk that you wind up getting them successfully bidding for government aid, which has kept them on life support for 3 decades and hasn't really helped the industry one bit.
Bob O'Brien, last quarter, 2/3 of the airline industry's revenues went toward gas and energy prices, jet fuel prices. At what price point does oil have to go to really tank the sector?
Well, if we just go back to $140 a barrel,
is that the limit? Is that the threshold amount?
Yeah, at this juncture, the only way you look at that is with a ripe attenuation of exactly how many planes are going to be on the tarmacs and in the air. You're going to be talking about a drastically smaller fleet size here. But there are statistics. If you look, every time you get a $1 reduction in the cost of a gallon of jet fuel, which we saw from the July highs through these August lows, that basically translates into about $13 billion for the industry.
For the entire industry.
For the industry overall. That's very helpful. So if we can keep these oil prices down, maybe they can come up with a model. That's
a big if. They should be hedging these prices right now because they're not going to stay low.
And that's why Southwest has had a successful run of things recently.
Most of these airlines are just gambling, and they're not hedging at all.
Gary Kay, what is your thought on this?
Well, first off, Gary Kelly is the CEO of the decade for hedging oil prices over the last few years for Southwest. But look, for me, where there's demand, there'll be supply. They're contracting right now because there's less demand. Southwest is leading that. But in Orlando, for instance, Delta knocked out a bunch of smaller airport direct flights. Southwest came in and took them over. So as long as there's demand, but airlines are doing what they have to do right now. They are getting rid of the routes they cannot make money on based on oil prices. And if oil prices keep coming down, they'll change that. It all depends. Look, it's the biggest expense for them. It's been that way since the day one, will continue to be. Oil prices need to come down or nothing good's going to happen for them.
Pat Dorsey, are you optimistic that oil prices will come down?
Further than they have already, maybe a bit, but long run, we're not seeing $50 oil again.
Thanks a lot.
or they're going to start charging us for breathing on the airplane.
The airlines weren't even making money at $50 oil. When were they making money?
Yeah, no, they're terrible at this.
They have other problems.
You know who's really going to get crushed, though, with these Southwest announcements is casino operators in Vegas, because the bulk of these flights that are being cut are flights that are originating out of Las Vegas. So that, casino operators are already on.
Are they seeing it already happening in Vegas?
Oh, it's become desperate.
Yeah.
You can.
What about the vacation home market? Another, if you can't get to your vacation house, why do you need it?
Yeah, if you bought one of those properties that's located a flight away from things.
On that lovely note,
we are full of good cheer today, isn't it?
On that cheerful note, ex-home run king.